In finance, there is this holy grail, one single source of truth, which doesn't exist, right? And in every company, in every invoice, you think about any process, accounting, finance, payment, right? There is always massive amounts of teams just deployed to do reconciliations, number one. Number two is copy and paste from one source to another source. Let's say if I am paying invoice, I tell them how much I need to pay. They have to take copy and paste and send it back to me, the invoice, right? So there's a lot of this copy and paste and many sources of data which kind of don't talk to each other, but we expect them to talk to each other, which creates a problem of reconciliation, trust, all of those things, right? So from a finance perspective, we said, okay, instead of thinking about this one source of data that kind of never exists, can we think about multiple sources of a shared source of truth, right? It is not one source of truth, but it is the shared source of truth, whatever we all agree to being the source of truth, right? That's a good, I would say, a compromise than knowing in absolute terms what is the relative absolute source of truth. The absolute thing don't exist in the world, right? These are all relative, and in a relative construct, if we all say that we all agree to this one source of truth, it's good enough to start the journey, right? Which eliminates the need for reconciliation. I mean, if I give a very specific example, take a game development. The blockchain that we've built pays the developers. So it's a very simple calculation. It's a P times Q, price times quantity. Price is established in the contract. The quantity is all the games that are played by different players. You multiply price times quantity, and then you pay to one person who pays to the other person who pays to the other person, because it's a long value chain that creates one game. It's not one person creating a game. You have a publisher in between, you have a distributor, you have a developer, there are agents. There is a network effect, right? And the reason why you see all this litigation everywhere is because the quantity information that I have, I don't share it with the publisher. I'll simply say, this is how much you earned, stick with it. And they take that and then they'll pass on to the developer who says, okay, I don't trust this number. He says, this is what I received from Microsoft. There is a systemic trust problem along the value chain, right? So that is exactly what we are trying to address. Can we create this one source of shared truth, right? And can we eliminate the need for reconciliation? Can we be transparent in that value chain only? That confidentiality is extremely important. Take Electronic Arts and Activision, two of the partners who have fought big wars for the last 2-3 decades. They don't sit on the same table. I mean, the confidentiality is extremely important. Can we deliver confidentiality? So those are the things that make sense for our thing. In terms of the outcome, which was mentioned here, there is clearly a value. I mean, you're talking about eliminating reconciliation from an industry, right? From the whole value chain, you're eliminating reconciliation. That is huge value. Today, it takes about 45 days for the publisher to know how much the publisher earned. Blockchain is a P times Q calculation that can happen instantaneously as you ingest the quantity data. So we are saying from months we can deliver insights in minutes. Right? So there are a lot of value. You can eliminate need for an audit becomes irrelevant. There are a lot of these values that not just accrues to one-to-one, as Deep was mentioning, it accrues to many, many, many ecosystems, all the participants in the ecosystem. So that kind of is where I would go, going back in terms of the 2 or 3 things. One is the source of truth, the network effect, and the need for delivering trust by having that one source of truth, I would say.
Mm-hmm. And that's something that you see translating across all verticals, not just for finance operations.
And we are hoping that this would organically grow, obviously, because if I start onboarding one person and the person sees a value, that person onboards. So, but there is a potential for organic growth, right? But at least at this stage, it's a one-to-one with all our partners, all the publishers that we pay to. But at the same time, we know for sure that the data that we share with them will be helpful for them to pay downstream.